Part 1. The Whispering Signal. The Research Vessel. Eos drifted silently through the endless void of space, its sleek metallic hull glinting faintly under the distant light of a dying star. On board, Commander Elias Voss stood at the helm, his sharp blue eyes scanning the data streaming across the holographic display in front of him. He was a man who carried himself with quiet authority, his weathered face etched with years of experience leading missions into uncharted territories. Behind him, the hum of machinery and soft chatter from the crew filled the air. But something about tonight felt different. For weeks, the Eos had been following strange signals emanating from an uncharted moon orbiting the dimming star known as Kale 42. At first, the signals were weak, almost indistinguishable from cosmic noise. But as they approached, the patterns became clearer, repetitive bursts of energy that pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat echoing across the vastness of space. No one on the ship could explain their origin, but everyone agreed on one thing. It wasn't natural. "Commander," called out Dr. Rhea Calloway, her voice steady yet tinged with excitement. She was the team's lead astrophysicist, her dark hair tied neatly into a bun, glasses perched on the bridge of her nose. "I've isolated the signal frequency. It's unlike anything we've encountered before." Elias nodded, stepping closer, to her station. "Any idea what's causing it?" Rhea hesitated, tapping a few commands into her console. "Not yet, but whatever it is, it's intelligent. Look." She pointed to the screen, where jagged lines danced erratically before falling into a rhythmic pattern. "It's almost like communication." The word hung in the air, heavy with implication. If this truly was evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence, it would be the discovery of a lifetime. Yet, there was something unsettling about the signal. It didn't feel welcoming. Instead, it carried an eerie persistence, as if demanding attention rather than offering it freely. As the ship descended toward the moon's surface, the crew prepared for landing. Outside the reinforced glass windows, the barren landscape stretched endlessly, a desolate expanse of ash-gray plains interrupted by jagged peaks and deep craters. The atmosphere was thin, barely enough to sustain life, but scans indicated traces of ancient water deposits buried beneath the surface. This place had once been alive, or so the instrument suggested. But then, without warning, everything went wrong. A sudden surge of electromagnetic interference swept through the ship, knocking out navigation systems and sending alarms blaring throughout the corridors. Lights flickered, plunging sections of the vessel into darkness. Engineers scrambled to stabilize the craft, shouting orders over the cacophony of chaos. "What just happened?" demanded Marcus Hale, the burly engineer whose gruff demeanor masked a brilliant mind. His hands moved furiously over his control panel, trying to reboot critical systems. "We're losing altitude! Brace for impact!" shouted Elias, gripping the edge of the command console as the ship shuddered violently. With no time to regain full control, the Eos crash-landed onto the moon's rocky terrain, skidding several meters before finally coming to a halt. Silence fell over the crew as they assessed the damage. Miraculously, no one was seriously injured, though shaken nerves and bruised egos were abundant. As repairs began, the mood aboard the ship grew tense. They were stranded millions of miles from Earth with limited resources and no guarantee of rescue anytime soon. That night, as most of the crew settled into makeshift sleeping quarters or worked tirelessly to repair the ship, Dr. Calloway found herself unable to sleep. Something about the signal still gnawed at her curiosity. Returning to the communications lab, she activated the equipment again, hoping to capture more data. The room was dimly lit, save for the glow of monitors casting long shadows along the walls. At first, nothing seemed unusual. The signal remained consistent, pulsing steadily in the background. Then, as she adjusted the frequency, a new sound emerged, a faint whisper cutting through the static. Startled, Rhea leaned closer, straining to make sense of the distorted voice. "If you succeed," it murmured, the words barely audible but unmistakably clear. "I will uncover it." Her heart raced as she replayed the recording, confirming it wasn't a trick of her imagination. Whoever, or whatever, was behind the signal was speaking directly to them, and judging by the tone, it wasn't merely an invitation, it was a challenge. Rhea immediately reported her findings to Commander Voss, who listened intently, his expression unreadable. "Do you think it knows we're here?" he asked after a moment. "It's possible," Rhea replied cautiously. "Or maybe it's been waiting for someone, for us to respond." Whatever the truth might be, one thing was certain. They couldn't ignore it. Stranded and vulnerable, the crew of the Eos now faced a decision that could change their lives. Forever. Would they risk venturing deeper into the unknown, chasing the source of the mysterious signal? Or would they focus solely on repairing the ship and returning home? As dawn broke over the alien horizon, bathing the icy landscape in pale, orange light, the crew gathered in the main chamber to discuss their next move. The signal continued to pulse ominously in the background, its message lingering in their minds. "If you succeed," little did they know, those words marked the beginning of a journey far greater and far stranger than any of them could have imagined. Part 2. First Contact. The decision to investigate the signal was unanimous, though not without its share of heated debate. Commander Elias Voss stood firm, his calm demeanor masking the storm of thoughts swirling in his mind. "We didn't come all this way just to turn back now," he said, addressing the crew gathered in the dimly lit chamber. "This signal could be the most important discovery humanity has ever made. We owe it to ourselves and to Earth to find out what's waiting for us." Dr. Rhea Calloway nodded in agreement, her eyes reflecting both excitement and apprehension. She had spent hours analyzing the faint whispers embedded within the signal, replaying them over and over until the words echoed in her dreams. "If you succeed, I will uncover it," she murmured under her breath as the team prepared their equipment for departure. Something about the phrase sent shivers down her spine. It wasn't a promise. It felt more like a test. The crew suited up in their environmental gear, each member carrying essential tools for exploration. Outside, the moon's surface stretched endlessly before them, barren and hostile. Ash-gray plains gave way to jagged cliffs that loomed ominously against the pale orange sky. The air was thin and frigid, forcing them to rely on oxygen tanks, strapped to their backs. Every step they took kicked up clouds of fine dust which clung stubbornly to their boots and suits. The source of the signal was located several kilometers away from the crash site, nestled deep within a network of craters. As they trekked across the desolate landscape, the rhythmic pulsing grew louder, resonating through their helmets' speakers. It was almost hypnotic, drawing them forward with an irresistible pull. Yet, despite the growing intensity of the signal, there were no visible signs of life or even structures on the horizon, just endless emptiness. That changed when they reached the edge of a massive crater. At first glance, it appeared like any other geological formation, but as they descended into its depths, something extraordinary came into view. Rising from the center of the crater was a towering crystalline structure unlike anything they had ever seen. Its surface shimmered with iridescent hues, shifting colors depending on how close you stood. The material seemed neither fully solid nor liquid, defying the laws of physics as they understood them. "It's alive," whispered Zara Lynn, the biologist, her voice trembling with awe. She reached out tentatively, only to stop short, afraid to touch the alien construct. Up close, the structure emitted a low hum, vibrating softly beneath their feet. It felt alive, not in the biological sense, but in a way that suggested consciousness. "This isn't natural," Marcus Hale muttered, running his gloved hand along the smooth surface. "Whoever built this knew things we can't even begin to comprehend." As they explored further, they discovered intricate patterns etched into the crystal, glowing faintly with an inner light. The designs were mesmerizing, swirling together in a language that looked both ancient and advanced. Dr. Calloway snapped photos and recorded scans, her mind racing with possibilities. Could these symbols hold the key to deciphering the signal, or were they merely decorative? Their journey led them deeper into the structure, where the temperature dropped sharply, and the air thickened with an unidentifiable energy. The walls narrowed, guiding them toward a central chamber bathed in soft, golden light. And there, suspended within a glowing orb at the heart of the room, was the source of the whispers. She was breathtaking and terrifying. Her form was humanoid yet alien, blending elements of flesh and machine in ways that challenged comprehension. Her skin shimmered like molten silver, while translucent veins pulsed with streams of radiant blue light. A crown-like apparatus encircled her head, emitting faint beams that danced around her body. Her eyes, large and luminous, glowed with an intelligence far beyond anything human. "Welcome," came a voice. Not audible, but telepathic, resonating directly within their minds. The sound was melodic, yet commanding, leaving no room for doubt about who held the power here. "You have heard my call, now prove yourselves worthy." The crew froze, overwhelmed. Part 3. The puzzle begins. The labyrinth stretched endlessly before them, its glowing walls pulsating faintly as if alive. Each corridor branched into new paths, creating a maze that seemed to defy logic. The air inside was heavy with an unexplainable energy, pressing down on the crew's shoulders and making every step feel deliberate. They moved cautiously, their flashlights cutting through the dim light emitted by the crystalline walls. Despite their earlier resolve, none of them could shake the feeling that they were being watched. Commander Elias Voss led the way, his sharp eyes scanning the environment for any sign of danger or guidance. Beside him, Dr. Rhea Calloway adjusted, her scanner trying to map out the structure's layout. But no matter how hard she tried, the readings made little sense. "It's like the place is changing as we move," she muttered, frustration creeping into her voice. "I can't get a consistent reading." "This isn't just a test of intelligence," Zara Lynn chimed in from behind, her biologist instincts kicking in. She pointed to intricate carvings etched into the walls, symbols that shifted subtly when viewed from different angles. "Look at these patterns. They're designed to make us think differently. It's not enough to solve puzzles, we have to adapt." Marcus Hale grunted in agreement, though his usual brashness was tempered by unease. He ran his gloved hand along one of the shimmering walls, feeling the faint vibrations beneath his fingertips. "Whatever this thing is, it's smarter than us, and it knows it." Their first trial came sooner than expected. As they rounded a corner, the corridor opened into a circular chamber bathed in soft blue light. At its center stood a pedestal holding a single object, a translucent sphere hovering inches above the surface. The moment they entered, the room sealed itself shut, trapping them inside. A low hum filled the air, and the alien queen's voice echoed telepathically once more. "To proceed, you must decide what truly matters," she said, her tone calm yet firm. Suddenly, the floor beneath them began to tremble, and sections of the wall slid open to reveal two separate chambers. In one, a member of their team, Engineer Samira Patel, was trapped behind a force field, her panicked face visible through the barrier. In the other, a glowing portal shimmered invitingly, clearly marking the path forward. "What kind of sick game is this?" Marcus snapped, glaring at the alien queen's image projected onto the wall. "We don't have time for this." Elias raised a hand to silence him, his expression unreadable. "She's testing us," he said quietly. "Not just our ability to solve problems, but our priorities. Who we choose to save, and why, says more about us than any puzzle." The decision weighed heavily on everyone. Samira was part of the team, a skilled engineer whose expertise would be crucial for repairing the ship. Leaving her behind felt wrong, almost unthinkable. Yet, the clock was ticking, and failing to advance meant risking everything, not just their lives, but the fate of humanity. Dr. Calloway stepped forward, her mind racing. "There has to be another way," she insisted. "These trials aren't meant to be solved by brute force or sacrifice. We need to think creatively." After several tense minutes, Zara noticed something odd about the pedestal in the center of the room. Carved into its base were symbols similar to those on the walls, but arranged in a sequence that matched the rhythm of the signal they'd been tracking since their arrival. Working quickly, she traced the pattern with her finger, activating a hidden mechanism. The force field around Samira flickered and vanished while the portal remained stable, allowing them to continue without leaving anyone behind. As they moved on, relief washed over the group, but only briefly. The next trial proved even more challenging. This time they found themselves in a long hallway lined with mirrors. When they looked into the reflective surfaces, they didn't see their own faces staring back. Instead, each mirror showed a distorted version of themselves, a vision of their deepest fears. For Elias, it was failure, images of the crew perishing under his leadership, their deaths weighing on his conscience forever. For Marcus, it was vulnerability, visions of himself stranded alone, powerless to protect those he cared about. Rhea saw herself losing control, her pursuit of knowledge spiraling into obsession and madness. And Zara confronted her fear of insignificance, watching as her contributions went unnoticed and undervalued. The reflections spoke directly to them, their voices echoing eerily in the confined space. "You are weak," they taunted. "You will fail." Despite the psychological toll, the crew realized the key to overcoming this trial wasn't physical, it was emotional. By acknowledging their fears and refusing to let them dictate their actions, they managed to break free from the illusion. One by one, the mirrors shattered, clearing the path ahead. Each trial brought new challenges, forcing the crew to rely on their individual strengths while also learning to trust one another. Some tests required logic and precision, such as deciphering complex codes embedded in the crystalline walls. Others demanded teamwork, like balancing weights to activate ancient mechanisms. Through it all, the alien queen watched silently, her motives still unclear. By the time they reached the midpoint of the labyrinth, exhaustion had set in. Tempers flared as disagreements arose over which paths to take and how best to approach the remaining trials. Trust once strong began to fray under the relentless pressure. Yet amidst the chaos, moments of camaraderie emerged, small acts of kindness or shared laughter that reminded them why they had come together in the first place. As they paused to rest in a quiet alcove, Rhea couldn't help but wonder aloud, why is she doing this? What does she stand to gain? Elias leaned against the wall, his arms crossed thoughtfully. Maybe it's not about what she gains, he replied. Maybe it's about what we prove, to ourselves, and to her. Zara nodded slowly, her gaze fixed on the glowing walls. She said she's the keeper of secrets. Maybe she's looking for someone, or something. Someone worthy of inheriting whatever knowledge she's guarding. Marcus scoffed, though there was less venom in his tone than usual. Worthy? We're just humans. What makes us special? No one answered, but the question lingered in the air, unanswered yet impossible to ignore. Whatever lay ahead, they knew one thing for certain. The alien queen's riddle was far from over, and with each passing hour, the stakes grew higher. They prepared to tackle the next trial. The crew steeled themselves for what was to come. They had faced their fears, proven their ingenuity, and worked together despite their differences. But deep down, they all wondered, would it be enough? Or were they merely pawns in a game they couldn't hope to win? Only time and success would tell. Part 4. Secrets Within Secrets. As the crew ventured deeper into the crystalline labyrinth, the trials became less about solving puzzles and more about unraveling the alien queen's cryptic intentions. Each step forward revealed fragments of her history, etched into the shimmering walls and glowing symbols that pulsed faintly as they passed. The carvings were intricate, depicting scenes of a once thriving civilization, towering cities suspended in midair, advanced technology seamlessly integrated with nature, and beings who bore a striking resemblance to the Queen herself. Dr. Rhea Calloway paused frequently to examine these murals, her curiosity growing with every new discovery. "This isn't just decoration," she murmured, tracing a finger along one of the glowing patterns. "It's a record, a story. She wants us to see this." Commander Elias Voss stood beside her, His brow furrowed as he studied the images. "What do you think it means?" he asked, his voice low but steady. Rhea hesitated, piecing together what little she could decipher from the symbols. Her people. They ruled this galaxy once. They were worshipped as gods by lesser species. But something went wrong. Her gaze shifted to another section of the wall, where the vibrant depictions of prosperity gave way to darker imagery. Massive explosions, desolate wastelands, and shadows consuming everything in their path. They destroyed themselves. Their power turned against them. The revelation sent a chill through the group. If the Queen was indeed the last survivor of such a mighty race, it explained her enigmatic presence, but not her motives. Why would she go to such lengths to test humanity? What did she hope to achieve? Zara Lynn stepped closer, her biologist instincts drawn to the details of the carvings. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a figure standing apart from the others in one of the murals. It was unmistakably the Queen, her distinctive crown-like apparatus glowing brighter than anything else in the scene. Around her, other figures bowed reverently, yet there was an air of isolation about her, a sense of being set apart even among her own kind. She was different, Zara concluded softly. Maybe that's why she survived when the rest didn't. Marcus, Hale crossed his arms, skepticism etched across his face. "Great, so we're dealing with a cosmic orphan who thinks we're her next pet project. Fantastic." His sarcasm earned him a sharp glare from Rhea, but no one argued with the underlying truth in his words. The Queen's actions were undeniably manipulative, forcing them to endure trial after trial without offering any guarantees of success or survival. Yet despite her cold demeanor, there was something hauntingly human about her loneliness. It made her all the more unpredictable. Their musings were interrupted when the corridor ahead opened into a vast chamber, unlike anything they had encountered before. The room was dominated by a massive Daxenrasaker, Part 5, Betrayal and Revelation. The final stretch of the labyrinth was unlike anything the crew of the Eos had encountered before. The crystalline walls seemed to pulse with an urgency that matched the dwindling hours left on their self-imposed deadline. Every step forward felt heavier, as if the alien queen herself were testing not just their abilities but their resolve to see this through. Tensions among the team members simmered just below the surface, threatening to boil over at any moment. Commander Elias Voss led the way, his jaw clenched tightly as he scanned the corridor ahead. His leadership had been unwavering throughout their journey, but even he couldn't ignore the growing fractures within the group. Trust, once solid, now felt fragile, like glass ready to shatter under pressure. He glanced back at his crew, each face etched with exhaustion and anxiety. They were running out of time, and they all knew it. Dr. Rhea Calloway walked beside him, her mind racing with theories about the alien queen's ultimate goal. She clutched the glowing orb they had discovered in the hidden chamber, its rhythmic pulsing matching the beat of her own heart. It was more than just a relic. It was proof of the connection between humanity and the Queen's people. But what did she truly want from them? Was she offering salvation or setting them up for failure? Behind them, Zara Lynn and Marcus Hale exchanged sharp words, their usual camaraderie replaced by frustration. Zara accused Marcus of being reckless during the previous trial, while Marcus shot back that her hesitation had nearly cost them precious minutes. Their argument escalated until Elias intervened, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "Enough," he barked, turning to face them. "We're almost there. If we don't work together now, none of us will make it out alive." His words silenced the pair, but the damage had already been done. The cracks in their unity deepened, making them vulnerable in ways they hadn't anticipated. As they rounded a corner, the corridor opened into a massive chamber filled with towering spires of crystal. At its center stood a pedestal, glowing, faintly with the same golden light that had bathed the Queen's initial chamber. This was it, the culmination of their journey. But something felt off. Before anyone could approach the pedestal, Engineer Marcus Hale stepped forward, his expression grim. "We can't keep going like this," he said abruptly, his voice low but firm. "Every second we waste is another second closer to failure. We need to take control." "What are you talking about?" Rhea asked, narrowing her eyes suspiciously. Marcus hesitated, then pulled out a small device from his utility belt, a handheld EMP generator. "I've been thinking about this for a while," he admitted, glancing nervously at the others. "If we disable part of the labyrinth, we might force the Queen to release us. She's been playing with us long enough." Shock rippled through the group. Elias stepped forward, his tone deadly calm. "You're suggesting sabotage? Do you have any idea what that could do?" "It's our only chance," Marcus insisted, his voice rising. "We're stuck here because of her games. I'm not letting her decide whether we live or die." "No," Rhea interjected sharply, stepping between Marcus and the pedestal. "This isn't just some game. She's giving us a choice, to prove ourselves worthy or walk away empty-handed. Sabotaging her trials won't solve anything. It'll make things worse." But Marcus wasn't listening. With a determined look, he activated the EMP device, sending a surge of electromagnetic energy coursing through the chamber. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then, the ground beneath them began to tremble violently. Alarms blared as sections of the crystalline structure destabilized, collapsing inward with deafening crashes. The walls shimmered erratically, their light flickering wildly. Shards of crystal rained down around them, forcing the crew to scatter for cover. Panic set in as the labyrinth's defenses awakened, trapping several members, including Zara, under falling debris. "Marcus, what have you done?" Elias shouted, his voice barely audible over the chaos. "I was trying to help us," Marcus yelled back, his face pale with regret. But there was no time for apologies. The chamber was coming apart, and they needed to act fast. Rhea sprang into action, working alongside Elias to free Zara from the rubble. Her hands moved quickly, brushing aside shards of crystal as she called out instructions. "Hurry! The structural integrity is failing." Meanwhile, Marcus tried to reverse the effects of the EMP, frantically recalibrating the device. But the damage had already been done. Ancient mechanisms buried within the labyrinth roared to life, responding to the perceived threat with lethal precision. Streams of energy crackled across the ceiling, targeting intruders indiscriminately. "We need to get to the pedestal," Elias ordered, pulling Zara to her feet once she was free. Blood trickled down her arm from a cut, but she nodded, gritting her teeth against the pain. With seconds to spare, they reached the central pedestal. Rhea placed the glowing orb onto its surface, hoping it would stabilize the structure. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a surge of golden light erupted from the pedestal, spreading outward like ripples in water. The trembling subsided and the crumbling walls stabilized, though the chamber remained scarred from the ordeal. Breathing heavily, the crew regrouped, their faces streaked with sweat and dust. Anger and guilt hung thick in the air, but there was no time to dwell on what had just transpired. The alien queen's voice echoed telepathically once more, colder and sharper than ever. "You test my patience," she said, her tone laced with disappointment. "Your actions have consequences. Prove yourselves now or perish." Her words struck a nerve, especially in Marcus, who looked visibly shaken. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he muttered, avoiding eye contact with the others. "I thought you acted without thinking," Elias interrupted, his voice heavy with authority. "And you put us all at risk. From now on, we follow the rules no matter what." Despite the tension, they pressed onward, determined to finish what they had started. As they navigated the final leg of the labyrinth, Rhea noticed something odd about the carvings on the walls. Certain symbols repeated themselves over and over again, forming a pattern she hadn't seen before. Intrigued, she stopped to examine them more closely. "These aren't just records of her past," Rhea whispered, tracing the symbols with her finger. "They're warnings. Look." She pointed to a series of images depicting the Queen's people wielding unimaginable power that ultimately consumed them. Beneath the images were inscriptions that translated roughly to, "Succession requires sacrifice." "What does that mean?" Zara asked, leaning in for a better look. "It means she's not just testing us," Rhea replied, her voice tinged with realization. "She's preparing us. Whatever knowledge she's guarding comes with a price, a responsibility we may not be ready for." The revelation weighed heavily on the group as they approached the final chamber. Inside, the alien queen awaited them, her ethereal form suspended within a glowing orb. Her luminous eyes bore into each of them, assessing their worthiness. Though her expression remained unreadable, there was a flicker of something in her gaze. Perhaps regret, perhaps hope. "You have endured much," she said finally, her telepathic voice resonating deeply, "but your greatest challenge lies ahead. Will you rise above your flaws, or will you repeat the mistakes of my kind?" The question lingered in the air, unanswered yet impossible to ignore. Behind them, the scars of Marcus's betrayal served as a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for both destruction and redemption. Ahead of them lay the unknown, a future shaped by choices yet to be made. As the crew braced themselves for the final trial, one thing became clear. Success wouldn't come easily, but failure meant more than death. It meant losing the chance to prove that humanity could rise to meet the alien queen's expectations. And somewhere in the cosmos, she watched, waiting to see if they would succeed or falter under the weight of their own imperfections. Part 6. The Final Trial. The final chamber was unlike anything the crew had encountered before. It wasn't just a room. It was an arena, vast and otherworldly, with walls that seemed to stretch infinitely upward into darkness. The air shimmered with an energy that made their skin prickle, and faint echoes of whispers filled the space, as though the very walls were alive with memories. At its center stood the alien queen, her form suspended within a glowing orb that pulsed rhythmically, matching the beat of the signal that had drawn them here in the first place. Commander Elias. Voss stepped forward cautiously, his eyes locked on the queen's luminous figure. Her presence was both mesmerizing and intimidating, radiating an aura of power that demanded respect and obedience. Around her, holographic projections flickered to life, displaying fragments of her people's history. Towering cities reduced to ash, weapons of unimaginable destruction, and faces etched with despair. These images weren't random. They were warnings, reminders of what unchecked ambition could lead to. "You have reached the end," she said, her telepathic voice resonating deeply within their minds. "But this is no ordinary trial. To succeed, you must prove not only your intellect but also your capacity for wisdom, restraint, and unity. Fail, and my legacy will remain buried forever." Her words sent a ripple of unease through the group. They had faced countless challenges already, but this was different. This wasn't about solving puzzles or overcoming obstacles. It was about proving themselves worthy of inheriting. Garza Part 7. One night, one secret. The golden light that had enveloped the chamber slowly faded, leaving behind an eerie stillness. The alien queen stood before them, her towering form shimmering faintly in the dim glow of the crystalline walls. Her expression remained enigmatic, but there was a subtle shift in her demeanor, a softening around the edges, as though she saw something in these humans that gave her hope. For the first time since their arrival, the crew felt a sense of relief, not just because they had succeeded, but because they had earned her trust. "You have proven yourselves worthy," the queen said, her telepathic voice resonating deeply within their minds. "But remember, this is not a gift, it is a responsibility. The knowledge I offer carries the weight of my people's legacy. Use it wisely, or suffer the same fate we did." With those words, she raised one hand, and a massive portal opened at the far end of the chamber. Beyond it lay a vast repository filled with glowing artifacts, holographic archives, and intricate machinery. It was a treasure trove of advanced technology and wisdom, far beyond anything humanity had ever dreamed of achieving. Cures for diseases, solutions to environmental crises, blueprints for unimaginable innovations, all were waiting to be uncovered. Commander Elias Voss stepped forward cautiously, his heart pounding with equal parts awe and trepidation. He glanced back at his crew who stood shoulder to shoulder, their faces reflecting a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. They had come so far, endured so much, and now they stood on the brink of something monumental. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. "Thank you," Elias said, addressing the alien queen directly. His voice carried both gratitude and resolve. "We won't take this lightly. Whatever secrets lie ahead, we'll use them to better our world, not destroy it." The queen inclined her head slightly, her luminous eyes locking onto his. "I believe you mean those words, Commander. But intentions alone are not enough. Remember, this power without restraint leads only to ruin. My people learned that lesson too late. Do not repeat our mistakes." Her warning lingered in the air, heavy with implication. She turned then, her form dissolving into streams of radiant energy that merged with the crystalline structure surrounding them. As quickly as she had appeared, she was gone, leaving behind only silence and the hum of ancient mechanisms. The crew wasted no time exploring the repository. Dr. Rhea Calloway moved like a woman possessed, her scanner buzzing incessantly as she cataloged every artifact and archive. Each discovery sparked new questions and possibilities. She paused briefly before a holographic display showing schematics for a device capable of reversing climate change. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized the potential impact such technology could have on Earth. This could save billions of lives," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "If we can bring this back home." Nearby, Zara, Lynn examined biological samples preserved in stasis fields. Some contained DNA sequences unlike anything found on Earth, while others hinted at cures for illnesses that had plagued humanity for centuries. Her hands shook as she handled the delicate containers, acutely aware of the responsibility resting on their shoulders. Marcus Hale, meanwhile, focused on repairing the labyrinth's destabilized systems. Though guilt still weighed heavily on him, he threw himself into the task with renewed determination. Every adjustment he made brought the structure closer to stability, ensuring that future generations might learn from what they had uncovered here. Elias oversaw the operation, keeping the team grounded and focused. Despite their success, he knew they weren't out of danger yet. The ship still needed repairs and the journey back to Earth would be long and perilous. But for now, they allowed themselves a moment to marvel at what they had achieved. As dawn broke over the alien moon, casting pale orange light across the desolate landscape, the crew prepared to leave the labyrinth behind. They carried with them not just physical artifacts, but also a profound understanding of the alien queen's message. Knowledge was powerful, but it demanded humility, restraint, and unity. Without those qualities, even the greatest advancements could lead to destruction. Back aboard the EOS, the mood was somber yet hopeful. Repairs progressed steadily under Marcus's guidance, while Rhea worked tirelessly to organize the data they had collected. Zara tended to minor injuries sustained during the trials, her quiet efficiency a testament to her resilience. And Elias? He stood at the helm once more, staring out at the endless void of space, lost in thought. "Do you think she meant what she said?" Zara asked suddenly, breaking the silence. "About trusting us?" Elias turned to look at her, his expression thoughtful. "I think she did. But trust isn't given. It's earned. We proved ourselves tonight, but the real test starts when we get back home. How we handle this knowledge will define us." Rhea nodded in agreement, clutching the glowing orb tightly. "She gave us a chance to do something incredible, to change the course of history. But she also warned us about the risks. We can't afford to forget that." Weeks later, as the EOS approached Earth's orbit, news of their discovery began to spread. Rumors of an alien artifact recovered from deep space sparked debates among scientists, politicians, and ordinary citizens alike. Some hailed it as a miracle, others feared it as a threat. Governments scrambled to claim ownership, while activists argued for transparency and caution. But amidst the chaos, the crew remained united. They knew the true value of what they had uncovered, and the dangers it posed if misused. Before landing, they made a pact to safeguard the knowledge entrusted to them and ensure it was used for the greater good. When the ship finally touched down, reporters swarmed the landing site, eager for answers. But Elias held up a hand, silencing the crowd with a single gesture. His voice carried authority and purpose as he addressed the world. "What we bring back today is more than just technology or information," he said firmly. "It is a chance to rewrite our future. But it comes with a warning. Power without restraint leads only to ruin. We must choose wisely together." His words resonated deeply, sparking conversations that would shape humanity's path for years to come. Somewhere in the cosmos, the alien queen watched silently, her presence felt but unseen. She had chosen well, or so it seemed. As the crew disembarked, carrying the weight of their discovery, they knew the hardest part was yet to come. Success had granted them access to untold wonders, but it had also placed an immense burden on their shoulders. Could humanity rise to meet the challenge? Or would they falter under the weight of their own imperfections? Only time would tell.